You found a place to belong here in this circle of friends, and we're so thankful that you're joining us today. I'm Beth, and I'm here at the table with my good friends. This is awesome. We have a little. The table's the same size, but it's a little more full today, and that's pretty great. We have Missy producing, so our silent partner over there. Hi. Good morning, Missy. Connie Evans and Gwen McCaslin. It is so good to be at the table with the two of you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Gwen and Connie, you're both my friends, but this is the first time you're meeting each other, perhaps?
Perhaps. I'm thinking I might have
Yes.
recorded a long time ago with her, but I'm not 100% sure.
So it's kind of, I won't sing it, but there was an old song called Reunited, and it's kind of a reunited
feels so
moment.
good.
It
does.
such a privilege and a pleasure for me because you are three ladies, our silent partner there, who I respect and admire and appreciate so much. Your wisdom goes deep. And I love to sit at the table with women who love the Lord, first and foremost, who treasure His Word, and then who have that life experience that can speak into situations with a different perspective than mine. I think we all grow. We learn and grow when we bump up against those experiences that we've never had. And there's just such I don't know, for me, it's just such a pleasure to sit and learn and then take what life has handed you and apply it to the different situations in my life. So I'm going to put it right out there today for our listeners because you don't know Gwen and Connie like I do. But first and foremost, they love the Lord and they treasure His Word. But Gwen, you're a single mom.
I am.
And two
By
kids.
choice.
By
And I will
choice.
say that by choice. I
Right.
adopted 2 kids a couple years ago.
Right. So two kids in elementary school.
Yes, officially. I have a kindergartner and I have a 4th grader.
And your degree is in counseling.
So
So
it's marriage and family therapy.
you bring such a perspective to this table. Connie, you're also a single woman, but not by choice.
Correct. I am a widowed lady. My son doesn't always like it that I allude to myself as being widowed, but it's been a different phase of my life, and a blessed one too, in that I've learned to grow in the Lord and really experience things that perhaps as a married woman I would not have been able to experience. But it's also a growth and just an adventure at times too, as a single woman.
Well, and for you, it was you never would have chosen this. I mean, for the 25 years of life without your dear husband, there were so many dreams that you have, and yet this is what I know of Connie as I see her today. While I'm sure the tears are still there, and the memories are still sweet, and there is a longing for what could have been, she hasn't gotten stuck. She has continued to move into the plans that God has for her, whether she likes it or not, whether she'd rather it be something else or not. Yes?
Yes,
Yes.
I think so. But I think there is, in everything that happens in one's life, you really have to look at that and realize that it is God's plan. It was not part of perhaps what you expected or what you even wanted or didn't want, but instead it's God leading you in a direction that is allowing for your personal growth and also being closer to Him in a different way. So I've tried to embrace that. I've tried to further my education, obviously, and as a retired teacher, to also bring that experience to the table with the students that I've had, and now in this part of my life, trying to also grow and learn in other ways.
Well, and here's the new part of Connie's life that's pretty awesome. She has the adult son, and yes, she's a new grandma. Yay!
Yes, I am a new grandmother. Baby
Well-
Daniel is wonderful, and he's providing a lot of fun and entertainment, but also in his eyes, seeing how the Lord works as well.
It is a new season, and as we move into those new seasons, we know sometimes there are things that make us cough and sneeze and hiccup, and there are parts of every season that we don't like, but there is beauty in every season also. And so as we come to the table, we're going to be talking about those seasons, but we're also going to be talking about the past that has shaped us and made us aware of the future that's before us. And most often, it is in those very difficult times that we recognize maybe what we've taken for granted.
And I think we also see how we grow looking back on those difficult times. When we're in it, we can't see the growth
Right.
because it just hurts or it's just miserable or, whatever. But, during those seasons, it's the times when God grows us and stretches us and pushes us outside of our comfort zone the best. Yeah.
The ouch times. Recently, I had the privilege of meeting author and speaker Cindy Wilkins. She's from Canada, and within the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, she contracted the flesh-eating disease, right? So landed in the hospital, just knew she was very sick when the squad came to take her to the hospital. And when she woke up, she found out that her husband had been faced with a horrible decision. They said, your wife is going to die unless we amputate her limbs. So with a child, a preschooler, 4-year-old and a 9-year-old, suddenly she was no longer the businesswoman that she had been, and she was still a mommy to these 2 young children, but she was an amputee who had to learn to do life without all those things that we all take for granted, right? So you can find her on Facebook. Her name is Cindy Wilkins. Cindy is spelled Cyndi, a little different than what I'm used to, but Cindy Wilkins, and she is just a joy to follow. But I have to tell you, I think of her so often since we've met because she said something, I don't even think she was intending to make a point, but it was pointed right to me, okay? She was talking about learning new skills in the new season of life that she's in. And most recently, God has given her the ability to write again with her right stub, right? She can hold a pen. She can sign her name. She can journal. And she has no way to explain it other than God has given her that gift. But she was talking about learning to prepare food for her children after, she was out of the hospital and healing. And she does have prosthetics for her legs below her knees, but she doesn't wear any on her arms. So she was very authentic and genuine, talking about working in the kitchen and how hamburgers are her go-to because she can just put everything in the mixer and then she can flip burgers on the grill. I'm not quite sure how she forms them, but that's her go-to. She said right up until the day that she had everything in the mixer and the mixer fell apart and she had raw meat all over. Ceiling, floor, herself, counters, cupboards. It was a mess. And she said, oh, what I would have given to just fall to my knees and cry out, Jesus. Well, she kept talking about the experience. I don't know how she cleaned it up because I was so struck by her words, fall to my knees and cry out, Jesus. I cry out, Jesus, often. But how often do I truly fall to my knees in prayer? I sit on my chair. I pray in my car. I walk through my house. Now, I have fallen to my knees. It's not that I never get on my knees and pray, but I will tell you, it is a privilege I take for granted. And it's one of those privileges that I think perhaps we don't fully comprehend until we no longer have it.
And that reminds me of the Lenten season. I was reading last night, Luke chapter 8, about the woman who had hemorrhaged. And she had hemorrhaged for 12 years. And she had gone to doctors and physicians and tried every single remedy. And as I read through that passage, I thought about how long, how wanting, how desperate she had become. And yet there was another man who was important in the synagogue who begged Jesus to come and heal his daughter, who was only 12 years old, on the cusp of womanhood. And how the juxtaposition of those two women in that particular section really show how perseverance, fortitude, and really the faith that's within you has to be exhibited in order for you really to get the blessing and the change that you need. And she just touched the hem of his garment, the fringe of his cloak.
Right.
But her faith was so strong, and he spoke out, and he said, "Who touched me?" That he felt the power of her faith.
What I hear in that story is that she moved toward him. She didn't run from him. She
Right.
moved toward him, but she moved.
Right.
Can you tell I'm kind of on a bit of a don't get stuck, Beth? Don't get stuck mentality right now? Yeah, it's that movement towards Jesus in those hard places.
And she's on her knees.
Right.
She's on the ground. So she's not standing up. She's not his equal. And I think you see that too in so many instances. These are two very different, the young girl, the older woman, the poor probably. She was poor, she was desperate, she was anxious, and she had suffered, and she had suffered a great deal for a long time. And as the representative, the father comes there, he obviously has more clout, and there he is, and word is received that his daughter has died. But notice what Christ says too. You know,
He keeps moving.
exactly to the house, and then of course she starts to breathe again. So in our moments of doubt, in our moments of desperation, in our moments on our knees or standing begging for that, there is hope and trust in the Lord, and I think we have to see that.
Do you know what I love about this story? The thing I love about the woman with the hemorrhage is she would have been ostracized from the church, from worship. She wouldn't have been allowed to be around people. She was considered unclean because having a bleeding disorder, you were unclean.
Right.
And so Jesus turns around and acknowledges her so that there's a public account that she has been healed.
Right.
So, I mean, he literally acknowledges her in her what word do I want? Being ostracized. He acknowledges that he sees her, but he also redeems her in a way that she would have been able to go to the synagogue then and present herself and join worship again and join community and her family. So I love that because he didn't leave her go silently healed. He brought attention to her.
Right. So we look at our public Christian lives and our private Christian lives, and how do we, really profess that? How do we show that? Make those come together, and again show the world and one another and women and men, up or down, the top or the bottom, young or old, that we do have that deep faith.
Our faith is real. And Jesus said, your faith has healed you. Hey, it's time for a break, ladies. We're going to continue this conversation about faith, about moving into the plans that God has for us after we take a listen to this. Thank you for joining us here in the Circle of Friends.
Walking in a shadowland of broken dreams and shifting sand. 'Cause I gave my heart away too many times. I didn't plan to meet you there. Your kindness took me by surprise. When grace and mercy showered over me. The lies. You told me all I tried to hide. You knew the truth that I could not deny. Pure love flowing down like rain. A worship dance that lasts all day. I couldn't help but fall in love with you. Now I live to praise. I live to praise you. I worship you, my God, my worthy King. I live to praise. I live to praise you. You are my strength, my song, my everything. Oh, Jesus, I fell in love with you. I finally found the truth. Oh, Lord Jesus, now I live to bless your name. Now I live to bless your name. To hear your voice, to feel you breathe. I'm caught up in your love for me. A heavenly embrace that covers me. I am humbled and amazed as I walk along the way. As I walk along the way planned for me. Now I live to praise. I live to praise you. The Father's heart is full of love for me. I live to praise. I live to praise you. The lover of my soul has set me free. I live to praise. I live to praise you. I worship you, my God, my worthy King. I live to praise. I live to praise you. You are my strength, my song, my everything. My everything.
Welcome back. You have found a place to belong here with a circle of friends. And Beth, I am so glad to be at the table with you again. And Connie, it's so sweet to be here with you. And you brought up right before break the story of the woman who had had a hemorrhage or a bleeding disorder for 12 years. And I think we often miss the cultural connotations that would have gone along with that. But I have to love the disciples' responses. You got to love Peter, because Jesus says, who was the one who touched me?
Right.
And you have Peter going, seriously? Like, Lord, it's a crowd.
Right.
Like, what do you mean? Who touched you? I just love that. I don't know about you guys, but I see so much humor and just humanity in the stories of Jesus with
Real
his
life.
disciples. Yeah. Yeah.
So true. I love this story. As I read through it, I think about all of us who are doing life in the crowds, and we have a need, right? We have, whether we cover our brokenness well or not, it's there. All of us have something within us that we need to cry out to Jesus and say, heal us. She put feet to her faith. She pursued him.
But yet she didn't draw attention to him.
No, she didn't.
She didn't call out to him. You have to wonder after 12 years with something that ostracizes you, if you just don't feel like you're worth somebody's attention, And so literally she did as little as she could, but she reached out. She touched the hem of his garment. She did something she thought he wouldn't even notice, and I think sometimes when we've been down so much, we have a tendency to look at God and go, seriously, like, I don't even know that I can ask.
Well, and I love Connie's point to that private faith and that public movement, that public display of that faith. And hers was still a very private, public display.
Yeah.
She wasn't grand staging, hey, everybody look at me, I need Jesus. She just went and did what she knew to do. And it's a lesson that we all need to learn. There for those of us who claim Christ as Lord and Savior, there really is no more religious and secular, private and public. We are created in his image, carrying his fullness wherever we go, into every door that we walk through, our own or the grocery store. We're his. And we take our faith into the places that we think no one can see, and out in the places where we know people are looking. Who are you at the very core? Does that faith keep you forward facing, moving forward? How's your faith? What's your faith temperature today? I think that when we recognize those areas where we have given up, have gotten stuck. I'm not saying we're bad Christians. No one. I am saved, right? There is no good Christian, bad Christian. I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. But this is what I do know. Sometimes my thermometer is kind of low because I've forgotten who I am in him. And I've forgotten the privilege of crying out to him in the midst of that very, very hard place.
And rooted in action.
Right.
I've been trying a little experiment.
Oh.
Every week, I reach out to someone that I have not seen in a long time, or visited, or spoken to, and I put it out there, and I say, I'd like to meet you. I'd like to talk to you. I'd like to visit with you, have lunch with you, whatever. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing, the response that I've received. And I've recently met up with my college roommate after 30 years, and we visited. And I cannot tell you how spiritually we came together. We are of the same faith. But again, she said as we left, I don't always know where people are at this point in their life, what the road that they've traveled.
Right.
And when I got home, I had a book that she had given to me called Jesus Calling, with devotions. And it's just been a beautiful way to not only show my faith, but also what I really think Christ intended for us to reach out to other people and be attentive, but also put our faith on display.
To do life with one another. So many one another's in his word. We're not to do life alone. And you could have, Connie. You could have stayed in your comfort zone. You could have stayed in your own chair, in your own space, but instead you're being intentional about reaching out. And then in the reaching out, you're sharing your faith. I love that here at this table, none of us go to the same church. Right?
Right.
We're all different denominations even, but we are rooted and grounded in our love for the Lord, and we treasure his word and allow his word to guide us. But this is what I know. When my faith is weak, when I've forgotten who I am in Christ, I've got my sisters to tell me, no, Beth, no. You don't have to walk in fear. You don't have to be stuck in this place. God has a purpose and a plan. That's doing life in the one another's. What a privilege. What a privilege to be able to invite your college roommate to
Come to the table.
Come to the
Right.
table. What a privilege to be able to contact people from your past and share your story and listen to theirs. What a privilege. What a privilege. Are we walking in that opportunity and privilege that God has given to us? Gwen, you did it. You took a leap of faith in adopting siblings, not just one, but two. What a privilege. Now, it doesn't always feel like a privilege, does it?
No, it doesn't. Not when there's 3 cups of powdered sugar all over my kitchen floor. No, not when that's what you wake up to. That was my Saturday morning. Precious girl. She's going to be a baker, I think. I don't know.
Oh, my goodness.
But that little kitchenette in her bedroom has to go.
It's inspiring her a little bit
It's
too much.
A little too much inspiration.
Yes, yes. It is. It's the hard places, well, as I've said time and again, that are our growth spaces. And sometimes just stepping out and making that phone call, or for that woman who had been hemorrhaging for 12 years, stepping out and touching the hem or the tassels, I've heard it translated too, of Jesus's robe or shawl. It's the going into that place. It's fostering, adopting.
Yeah.
It's coming alongside someone who's walking alone. It's speaking truth when silence is easier. It's, the Word of God says, loving the humble, loving the lowly, loving the unlovable. I love to hear the stories of friends and people who I've never met who are so willing to go into the prisons. How beautiful. They need to be encouraged in the Lord every bit as much as each and every one of us who have the privilege of going to church freely every Sunday morning, Wednesday night, Sunday night, mission meetings, whatever, whenever. And maybe, just maybe, it's in that place of no longer being able to that we finally recognize the high value.
And I think a life that professes that, recently, at the end of October, my mom passed away, and she was 91 years old. And we marveled at really the people who attended her service and came to see us and what they had to say about my mother. And I would oftentimes think, oh my gosh, Mom, you're letting them come to your door? You're letting this group, I had to rethink. And she saved her cans for the gentleman who came by. She allowed people to, sweep her sidewalk or just come to the door and do a small menial task. What I would think would be, how could you do this? But at 91, she's like, I'm the one that has to reach out. I'm the one that has to provide for this. And it's amazing because as my brothers and sisters and I clean her house and go through everything, we have found such a wide assortment of the things that she thought were beautiful. Others might never have thought would be important or special. But for us, we've also come together. And even in death, we see the reflection of her life and how she touched people and how her humility was really her strongest suit, because she never professed that. She was a messenger of the Lord way before, anyone.
That was the word that kept coming to mind as you were talking about your mom. It is, let's face it, it's humiliating to have to ask for help. And yet, it's a humble heart that finally reaches out and says, I can't do this on my own. Will you help me? And then we get the opportunity to come alongside the one another's again and do life together. What a blessing to those who were able to come alongside and do life with your mom. Like you said, at 91, let's face it, you don't have a whole lot of your friends and peers left to attend your funeral. So when you see that large gathering, you know this was a person who impacted people that weren't just part of her circle, of her tight-knit circle.
Or of her generation.
Of her generation, but
Exactly.
far beyond. How beautiful. Ladies, we are at the end of our day together. It has been a fantastic time here at the table, and we'll be back tomorrow. Listener, thank you. Thank you for joining us here at the table. We all have a place to belong because God has given us a place to belong. We're so thankful that you joined us here. This program was brought to you through the generous support of donors and listeners like you. To contact Circle of Friends Ministries, you can write to P.O. Box 345, Berlin, Ohio, 44610, or find us on Facebook at circleoffriends.fm. Program archives can be found at thelight959.com.
Looking for ways to change up your living space? Stop at Village Gift Barn and view our wide selection of house and home items. Need some tips on how to pull together a room? One of our talented home decor staff will help you put together the perfect arrangement for your home. Located in the heart of Amish country on State Route 39 in Berlin, Ohio, Village Gift Barn, never ordinary, we promise.